All right, number 31, it says factor the expression x to the fourth minus 36x squared completely. So we're factoring completely. Whenever you see factor completely, that means you are going to first look for a GCF. Then we're going to look and see if we see any good factoring patterns. Maybe a dots. Remember, that's the difference of two squares, or a perf. That's when we have a perfect square trinomial. Or we may just have to factor like plain old factoring. Okay, so those are like the two things that we're really going to look for whenever we see factor completely. Okay, so first let's look for our GCF. I've got an x to the fourth and a 36x squared. Let's think about how we make an x to the fourth. We make an x to the fourth by multiplying an x times an x times an x times an x. How do we make a 36x squared? Well, we multiply 36 by an x and another x. So what would the greatest common factor be here then? Well, there's two x's here and two x's here. So therefore, the GCF between both terms would be x squared. And once we've found the GCF, what we want to do to get the terms inside of the parentheses is take the original and divide it by the GCF. That's going to give us what goes inside the parentheses. So x to the fourth divided by x squared. Let's think about that. We've got x to the fourth divided by x squared. What would cancel here? He would cancel, he would cancel, and we would be left with x squared up top. So x to the fourth divided by x squared gives me x squared. That's my first term inside of the parentheses. Let's look at the second term inside of the parentheses. The second term inside of the parentheses is negative 36 times x, and this is all over x squared, which is x times x. Who's going to cancel now? We have x over x, he cancels. We have x over x, he cancels. And what we are left with is a negative 36. So the second term inside of our parentheses, once we have factored out the GCF of x squared, is a negative 36. So now I'm going to look for a cool factoring pattern. Is this a difference of two squares inside the parentheses? It certainly is. So that means I'm going to use my pattern to factor. So I know that when I factor something, it looks like x plus or minus a number times x plus or minus a number. Now, in order to get a negative 36, that means one has to be plus, one has to be minus, and then the only number that, when multiplied by itself, gives me 36 is 6. So I find the square root of this guy and the square root of this guy. The square root of x squared goes here and here. Since there's a minus sign here, we have to do two different signs inside the parentheses, and then the constant is going to be the square root of the perfect square that's listed second. So our answer is going to be x squared times x plus 6 times x minus 6, and that would be my factored completely answer.